run up to Budget 2020, we've been speaking every day, all the time about what industry, economists, corporates expect from Nirmala Sitharaman. How about looking at a different section of people and what they want to know? Today I'm speaking to a bunch of, how do I describe, the millennials, young working people in Mumbai city, from a cross section of society really, and hope to know how they see the economy and the budget, if they're thinking of it at all. I have with me today Karan Talwar, Aditi Mittal, both of course known for their comedy. I have with me Vinay, a young journalist, and Rohit, a banker. Who hopes to soon climb that corporate ladder. Personally for you and what you see around you, has the economic slowdown mattered at all? What do those words even mean?
So, it's funny, like when you talk about stock markets, the economy is kind of like that. It's about speculation. People don't really know the details. I'm sure he knows the details more than I do, but everybody's an expert, right? So, and there's a certain vibe, we don't know what's going on, but we know there's a vibe. So now we know the vibe is looking kind of bleak, and so it's all about signaling. I think it's signaling to people abroad. Now, even the IMF has like degraded India's stature as far as how investment friendly we are. So it's kind of a signal to the world. Where do we stand and how serious and how unemotional, which is very crucial, how unemotional we can be about getting things done. Because I know as soon as the budget comes out, one side is going to say it's the best thing ever, and the second side is going to come out and say it's the worst thing ever. And we as consumers are going to be sitting there, as citizens, sorry, we'll be sitting there going, I don't know what happened. Yeah. Like with everything else.
Yeah. No, but what I'm trying to understand is, we're all talking about the economic slowdown, and usually it comes down to graphs and charts and numbers and percentage points. But I'm trying to understand if it's something that you're experiencing in terms of, the number of gigs or payments, or, how it's really impacting you, if at all.
I think, if you look at the entertainment business as such, I think what entertainers are getting paid today, or influencers, what they were getting paid like 3 years ago for a tweet or a picture on Instagram, I think that's reduced, which is good.
Yeah.
I think it's
no one's feeling bad for you. But
yeah, no, I think people getting paid lakhs to post a picture on Twitter or post a picture on Instagram was ridiculous to begin with, right? And I also don't believe that influencers should have such power.
But first, Aditi, begin with how are you defining this economic slowdown? Is it just a buzzword? Is it something that you're seeing, experiencing, or know people who are?
The industry we work in is one of those, like it's the entertainment industry, and he was talking about corporates. One of the places where I've seen, what I've definitely seen like a downsizing is when we used to do corporate shows earlier. Like it would be like, you would go on the retreat that the company is going to, and it would be in this 5-star hotel, and then the performances would start at 6 o'clock, and there would be bubble blower, belly dancer, sand artist, and then you. And now that suddenly, now you're in Lonavala, and now bubble blower, sand artist, and belly dancer are gone, so it's just you. And you can't talk about the economy on stage because people are like watch stand-up comedy to forget about the economy. So, I have seen it sort of turned down, as it were. Also, I think the lack of jobs is something that I'm hearing about left, right, and center, and it's even in the cities. It's even like people who are like my cousins and, my nieces and nephews are having problems right now being able to secure a job. And so they're sort of postponing their adulting into, they'll be like, oh, now I have 7 PhDs. And I'm like, khota to phir bhi hai. So, farak kya padta hai? But that's kind of how I've interacted with it so far.
I just want to get a sense from you, someone who's starting out in his career. India has always been about optimism. You will do better than your previous generation, who did better than their previous generation. What is the kind of optimism level you're finding right now at this stage of your life?
No, I don't think there is any optimism. It's not about optimism really. It's about the jobs that are present here, and there are none. Like,
you're a journalist.
Yeah, I'm talking as a journalist in the sense. I'm talking about my industry also. So after demonetization, right after demonetization, there were many layoffs in several newspapers, news channels, and big names. And so now also it's not been, वो ऊपर नहीं आ पाया, वो problem है बहुत बड़ा. And then the second thing is, and the pays to young journalists and reporters are very less. It's very less. And especially in local portals, local media portals which are working in a city, covering daily city news, the pay is extremely low.
I just want to get a sense, and if anyone wants to come and please indicate, and we can take this conversation forward. I want to take that optimism index and how people are feeling, and just to explain, slowdowns are temporary.
It's cyclical, right?
Yeah.
It goes up. You have the boom, you have your recession.
Yeah.
Every country goes through it.
I mean, everyone knows the inherent India growth story, this huge, the working class, demographic dividend, huge consuming class, all of that still is there. The question is, what has changed? Everyone's been talking about demonetization, but that was still 3-4 years ago. What do you think, Karan, in your view, has made people more wary about spending? Is it about an attitude to spending at all levels?
I think there's a lot of things. We keep, obviously what we read in the newspaper is the biggest thing. And like, for example, what happened with the Punjab Cooperative Bank, I think.
Punjab and Maharashtra.
Yeah. And so there's this fear. When that happened to that bank, there's fear that and when the government refused to or didn't immediately say they were going to help the banks out, when the combination of the government and the central banks, the money that they have in the reserves is for these banks when the banks, mess up and things happen. But they weren't that happy to, So my worry is that there's all these cooperative banks, and these banks were, are instrumental to these tiny little economies, especially small loans and stuff like that. And if people start defaulting on these loans because they aren't making money, like, for example, they have a small business or they have a job and the job's not paying enough, so what happens is you have this ripple effect. And eventually the government's going to bail them out, or the RBI is going to bail them out. And if that's not happening, we might see this sort of domino effect, and that can be, this is a new word, it's not a new word, it's a word that I learned in college called stagflation, and that scares the hell out of me. And I'm sure you guys, the banker already knows this. He has a tattoo of stagflation on his back.
It's almost a bizarre conversation to talk about stagflation with Karan Talwar, but I'm enjoying it. Go ahead.
I have an MBA too, people. MBA is not exclusive to intelligent people. Some people also get them. But my real fear is that because that's what happened in the 1970s in India, and that's, you talk my dad's generation. When I was a kid, everybody was working for the government. My dad had a job with the Shipping Corporation of India. We all, except unless you had your own business, you were working for the government. That's how it was. And why was the government so involved? Because they were trying to bring us out of that miserable 70s that we had. Now we're kind of slipping back into that. So that's what scares me.
I want to understand what the outlook really is. Are there any big purchases that any of you have postponed or are thinking about right now, waiting for things to get better? You want to go first?
I thought of buying a gaming laptop. So I was looking through the prices, went through prices on Amazon India. It was a pretty decent one I saw, around 1.5 lakhs. I checked on Amazon, the American site. Same one was available there for like 87. But the shipping duty and the custom charges brought it right up to 1.44K. So if I had ordered it from that site itself, it would have cost me basically the same thing. But
no, and you're someone with a stable job.
I am.
Who knows?
I hope so.
No, I mean, you work in a bank. It's as stable as it gets. Are you not feeling that you have a stable job working in a bank?
Won't speak for myself per se, but I have other friends, same batchmates from the same batch, and well, they work for Oyo. And that was what they thought. And up until a few days ago, and very talented, genuinely talented people, and just out of the blue, they get this announcement that thank you for your contribution and you're free to go. And that's the way that if you're talking about optimism, for us at least, our generation, that is basically it in a nutshell. It doesn't exist, at least in terms of your work.
So job security is a concern. Is that something that you see as well in your other friends?
Yeah, I think so. And for me also, job security is a major concern. Like, I don't know if I'll be able to find a better job in the media industry especially. And since we are talking about the low pay and job insecurities, so I met an Anganwadi worker in a protest in Mumbai. He told me, I was shocked. I don't know. I was writing down what he was telling me. I stopped for a while and I looked at him. He told me that for a decade he has been working as an Anganwadi teacher in Maharashtra in a small district. He has not got a single salary. I was very shocked. I don't know how, I couldn't comprehend how it can happen. Yeah. So this is the case with Anganwadi workers also, who are working as service staffs and all that stuff. So
no doubt that the bottom of the pyramid is always the worst hit when there is an economic slowdown, because you don't know where to go. There are a lot of people maybe in this cross section I'm speaking to who at least you can go back to your parents' place and they'll take care of you for some time. That's not the case for everyone.
So I would like to give you exhibit my broken phone.
Oh, wait.
My screen has been broken for the past.
This is not a cover. This is to keep my phone intact, by the way. My phone is completely, it's completely cracked.
You guys, listen, wait a
My
minute.
phone is broken.
You
and I'm
want
not-
me to believe that both of you are
Yes.
not buying a new phone right
Yes.
now?
Okay, so
Yes.
first of all, phones are all like 50, 60 grand, right? And
Yeah.
that's an expense I really don't need to take at this point. I really don't need, because it's a nice to have, not a must have.
Yeah.
And that's what he was talking about. We are now we are going to, okay, must haves first. Make sure, if I have employees to pay, I pay them.
Yeah.
All the ghar ka kharcha is done. If I'm suddenly thinking about vacations, I know my wife and I were planning a vacation and we went from London to Lonavala, so we also, she's great, she also understands that, that things are slow, but that's also the nature of our business specifically.
Yeah, I mean, with creative people, I mean, at least with the scope, the level that we're working at, the money we make, we put back into our work.
Yes.
Right? So I would rather put that money into buying a bunch of books or, taking a writing class or, anything else apart from this. This is not the most important expense for me right now. Having said that, I mean, I wish it was an expense that I was able to just be like, "Arey, 50,000 ki new screen laga do." Like, I mean, it's a thing that I think about now a lot more.
It's a mental barrier more than
Hanji.
the actual
Hanji.
ability.
Hanji.
Okay, let's come down to brass tacks then. Okay, what do we've kind of established that there is this somber mood, but not to get everyone down. Yes, things are bleak right now, but everyone believes that India will bounce back. It's a matter of time. We need to do something about it.
I have a solution. I have actually two solutions. We aren't taxing selfies. I think if we start taxing selfies, and one more thing, I think we should start taxing honking. If we tax honking and selfies, somehow figure that out now, I think it'll be solved.
Actually, if you're talking about taxing stuff, I think that people are saying that we won't get direct tax cuts rate cuts in the direct tax. But given the collections, the kind of collections they made from all these challans that they hiked a few months ago, I think that might cover a bit of it.
No, but the last budget, they had all these massive corporate tax cuts, and
It was the corporate tax cut was outside the budget. They imposed a super rich tax in the budget, which of course a lot of corporate India was upset with.
But they got richer, right?
Yeah.
Now I just read just last week that the 11th richest people, top 11 richest people have more money than 75%. I don't know, some bizarre number like that, and they in fact have increased their wealth.
Yeah.
Wasn't the purpose of budget and taxation all this to transfer the wealth a little bit more like even Stevens?
Yeah.
Wasn't that the purpose of it all?
The purpose of the budget is not to transfer wealth from A to B, but then that's going to
taxation system, the taxation system we have, entertainment tax for example, right? We pay 25% in ET in Bombay. I think it's 25, maybe it's 35.
It's
ridiculous.
25 right now, 35 in Delhi.
Yeah, right. And so I would imagine that that the demand for movie theater is actually reduced because of that tax. I mean, that's...
You're talking about GST? You're talking
No,
about
I'm
GST?
Is anybody else having a problem with GST? Because now I'm in a relationship with my CA. Because he calls me every 20 minutes and he's like, GST bharna. I said, Kab? Like, literally 10 minutes pehle bhara tha, and now I have to fill it again.
Doesn't it seem like we're always paying taxes and doing elections? It always feels like there's always election season or tax season, or one of the two.
Yeah. No, so let's come back to taxes. What you're talking about, simpler taxes, lesser taxes, as someone who runs a small business?
Absolutely. I think standardized simple taxes, I think, when the BJP government or I think 2014, the rumor was that the income tax would be either completely shelved or the rates would be relaxed. And, I did my little research, not for this, I was because of writing jokes on income tax, and it's ridiculous. 3% of the country pays tax. And there was a part, so I looked it up, how many crore-patis are there? Official crore-patis, I think about 1,200, 12,000. Okay, let's say 12,000 crore-patis in the entire country, official. There are 12,000 crore-patis on a street in Pali Hill right now, right? And so it's a failed tax in a sense, because it's not even Stevens, it's only people who are for some reason feeling, oh, I should pay a part of it, That's the problem I have with that. If you want to evade it, it can be evaded easily through various means, how you put your money, so that's my problem with it, is are we actually using this money effectively? Like we're talking about, okay, it'll be 100 crores for this and 1,000 crores for this, but how is that money actually being funneled through to agriculture, to infrastructure? I think that's another debate that people need to have, and especially your news channel should have, is should we have a separate budget for people who are just watchdogging this entire process and seeing that is every rupee actually going to where it does? Because, you know, my biggest fear is, okay, theek hai, we are putting lakhs of crores into XYZ, but is it actually going there, or is it just getting
implementation versus I mean, and actually the expansion of the tax base is something, one of the promises that they had made in 2014 is that we will expand the tax base, but there seems to be, like, again, a lot of the things that were said in 2014 have not been repeated.
Tell me about GST. We're talking about your experience with GST.
What do I tell you about GST that I would understand? So
you pay it all the time.
Hanji. Yeah, I mean, as I was saying, now my CA and I are on like, hi, kya chal raha hai? Acha, bhabhi ji, theek hai. And then he'll be like, acha, GST bharna hai. And I'm like, yaar, tune 2 minutes pehle paise liye the. And he's like, time aa gaya dusri baar, you know, for the next time. And it's, and I don't understand it, to be honest. But I'm more than willing to be a part of the system that, you know, helps improve the conditions of the country. What Indian doesn't, you know, any patriotic Indian wants to contribute. But what is the, like, as a single individual, it hits me every single time. And it also makes the numbers look much bigger when I'm talking to a client. I'd be like, I would like, you know, my rate plus GST. They know they will have to hand me a check of a much larger number, and that's money gone from them for a while. It sort of affects the way, you know, we communicate as whatever single individual people taking jobs.
Okay, so widening the tax base, simpler GST.
But we actually have, by the way. The last 5 years, I was looking it up. It's a small number, but the number is growing exponentially.
The tax base is widening, and GST actually will widen that more because it's an indirect tax. So someone or the other always has to pay it.
I think it's done.
Yes, but like this, recently in the news there was something about GST
the revenues are down. The revenues are down because it's a function of how much business you do. So if business is down, the revenues are also going to be down, and then the taxes you pay on those are also going to be down. For you, what would you hope to see in terms of specific measures to boost your prospects? You're a young employee who's just started on his professional path. What can be done to change your mood? You're looking very, very depressed through this whole conversation.
I'm just very,
He just
very
saw
taken
Aditi
aback.
do a stand-up show, so he's gone into depression.
This is the end of the headlights right now. The thing is, well, it's a phenomenon that you've seen in the US quite a bit. So it's about being bogged down by debts before you even start your career. So I am one of the few people who actually took out an education loan and didn't depend on his or her parents to pay it. So what I'm having to do now, in addition to the taxpayer taking my money, for which I can claim exemptions to a certain limit, is to pay a decent chunk of that salary towards my education loan repayments. And living in Mumbai, that's not an easy thing to do, given how high the rent is. So what I would like to see is perhaps, you know, an increase in the exemption limit. Currently, you can claim up to 1.5 lakh exemption on the interest you've paid per year. If that was increased, I might be able to get some relaxation when it comes to, you know, tax rebates. But if it isn't, well, writing off the loans entirely might be definitely a good idea. I'd get behind it completely, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Okay, so you're looking at, you know, the business side as well. What about you? What are you hoping to see from Nirmala Sitharaman?
I think what should happen is the Finance Minister and the Modi government should focus on increasing the disposable income of the people. You know, so see, the point is, when you talk about disposable income, it is like he talked about CTC and what he's getting in real, right? So we need to increase that, and that can happen only when you focus on decreasing the income tax. We should focus more on the young people and their growth. Their disposable income is more. That should be the, you know, motive of the government, and that can happen. Only one thing is needed: political will, and that I feel is missing. That's what I feel.
Okay.
You say that this generation is responsible for bringing about the downturn in the economy. Well, how are we supposed to inject money when we don't even have any money to inject?
Yeah. So this generation is actually always accused of, you know, ruining the auto sector, the real estate sector. No one wants to buy a car. Everyone wants to Uber. They don't want to, you know, buy a house. You want to rent. Why is that? What's going on there?
Speaking of Ubers, there was a very, very terse statement made by the Finance Minister of the country, which I don't want to repeat, but let's just bypass that.
She basically said that Uber and Ola are the reason why the auto industry is in a downturn. Right?
Right.
Yeah.
Me personally, I prefer to take the local because I don't even have money to spend on Ubers.
And actually, going further, the Uber and Ola like revenues have actually not only like plateaued,
They're still in the red.
completely plateaued.
They're
See,
still in the
think,
red.
I think the government is delusional. Let's say it. Because they don't understand what the youth is going through. Oh, I don't have money to buy new pants. What are you talking about? Like seriously, honestly.
There's a nation without pants.
We live in Mumbai. Mumbai has probably the highest rent that you'll give to your owner. And that's, with that, you want us to buy a car. And we don't have any jobs. The data says that in the financial year 2017-18, there was the maximum 45% downfall in the unemployment, increase in the unemployment. So that's insane. You are not realizing, you being on the position of power, you're not realizing what the youth is going through. You're not ready to listen. You're not ready to believe that the economy is falling. There is a slowdown. You're saying, "Arey sab changa si." So that doesn't work.
I'm going to take it further than that. The millennials are the ones who are going to be, in 20 years, will be probably in the 50s, clearing that. Now we're looking at the pollution. I think 7 of the top 10 polluted cities in the world are Indian. So where now? No, this is. Do we even have space? Do we even have the room to talk about clean energy? When I bought a car in 2011, I really wanted a clean car. I really wanted at least a hybrid. But the cheapest hybrid at that point was 30 lakhs. And you can buy a Maruti for 3-4 lakhs. A petrol diesel Maruti for 3-4 lakhs. And I thought that was ridiculous that there's no incentive whatsoever to buy a clean car. And those are, I think, about 10 to 15% of our pollution issues could be solved. I mean, in Delhi, they tried the odd even thing to resolve that.
Well, speaking of something what that might come out of this budget, they are proposing to lower the tax on electric vehicles.
That was actually last year also.
But
last
they
one
have.
also they did. Yeah.
They did, and they're trying to do it again, but it's inhibitive. It's prohibitive, the fact that these cars are priced that high. If you're actually going to make an impact by reducing
What
the
about a
pollution.
climate change fund, a pollution control fund?
Or paise.
You're going to have to put money.
We are already giving Swachh Bharat says.
Aditi, you want to round this off with what you hope to see from the budget this year, which I think will be one of the most challenging in terms of the messaging that is put out there.
Yeah, and I mean for someone like me who does not have the background information, and like I'm dating my CA now, and I think that is a relationship I would like to keep at a distance, and so the simplification of GST
It
is
doesn't
something.
happen in the budget, by the way, but let's hope for the best.
But
for
yeah,
the
I mean,
GST
like
Council.
whatever, however that it happens.
Karan, you want to round up with what you hope
I'll
to
tell
see?
you what, I think, like you said, what signal is going to send when it comes to, do they really care? Like Michael Jackson's song, when all I want to say is that do they really care about us, that one song he had. But that's the question I really want to ask the government. What is it that what is your priority? Because all I hear is animosity towards certain groups of people, and most of those people are Indian citizens to begin with. So, are you going to get past that, and are you going to actually take care of us, or do we have to keep on going on the streets and protesting?
All right, on that note, let's hope for an optimistic budget which gives us the message that everyone wants to hear. And hey, you guys are the next generation, lighten up. I'm sure things will get better. With that, I want to thank all of you for joining us on this show this evening.